Hi, this is Richard Fields with this week's Report from the Fields. Joe Biden's weekend at Biden's presidential campaign has mercifully come to an end. More troubling, the remaining 6 months of his presidency continue. But that's another story. Biden, or one of his aides, quit his campaign with a post on X from Biden's beach house in Delaware on Sunday morning, July 21st. Perhaps as an afterthought, he made a second X post endorsing VP Kamala Harris to run as the Democratic nominee in his stead. Within hours, the entirety of legacy media was on board with glowing stories about the first woman of color running for president. Within days, Kamala had rounded up enough delegate votes for the nomination. When Kamala ran for president in 2020, she dropped out due to poor polling numbers in December of 2019, before any primary ballots were cast. As such, she is the only presidential candidate to receive a major party nomination without receiving a single primary vote since Gerald Ford secured the Republican nomination in 1976. So much for the Democrats saving our democracy. Early polling shows that Republican Donald Trump has a slight lead over Kamala, but it's within the margin of error. So, barring a miraculous third-party win, Kamala could be our next president. We already know what an awful president Trump was. He set record deficits. He started a tariff war with China, which means higher consumer prices for Chinese goods for Americans. He signed on to the COVID propaganda and instigated the lockdowns and questionable vaccines we were all strongly encouraged to take. All of that contributed to inflation as high as 9%, and which continues to this day. He scapegoated immigrants for all of the economic problems he caused, and he continues to do that to this day. His judicial appointments paved the way for states to outlaw abortion. In some states, that is now happening. Despite his pandering to the Libertarian National Convention, he is no libertarian. If for no other reason than promulgating huge federal deficits at $35 trillion and growing, another trillion every 2 or 3 months, the deficit is the essential existential issue for America. No libertarian can, in good course, support Trump. So let's try to divine where Kamala comes down on the issues. First, she is almost certainly complicit in the Biden administration's media censorship efforts. She buys into the global warming scam. She is on record as being even more extremely anti-fossil fuel than Biden was. She would ban fracking. For the record, fracking is the most efficient way to get more natural gas, the cleanest burning fossil fuel on the planet. Fracking causes no problems with well water. The fearmongers have not figured out that it takes place thousands of feet below the water table. Kamala wants to ban fracking. The Howard University, her undergraduate degree is in economics from Howard University. As far as I know, there are no economics courses that look at the Austrian school or even the monetarist school of thought at Howard. The Howard University Economics Department mostly just regurgitates Keynesian and neo-Keynesian economic dogma. That's what got us into this mess. It's not going to get us out. And Kamala's father was a professor of economics who taught Marxist economics. With Kamala as a in a decision-making position regarding the economy, what could possibly go wrong? Modern monetary theory as a government policy, anyone? I've previously put forward the theory that the very people who are attracted to political power are those who want to force others to live the way those in power prefer. Control freaks, precisely the kind of people who should never get political power. These kinds of power seekers are also the kinds of people who will use any means necessary to attain power, like at age 29 becoming the girlfriend of the then 60-year-old married Speaker of the Assembly in California, Willie Brown. I'm sure that it was true love, or at least true lust, and not the lust for power and the gift of a BMW, or the well-paid, little-work patronage appointments to the California Unemployment Insurance Appeals Board or the Medical Assistance Commission. As DA, she obtained more than 1,900 marijuana convictions, and in an interview, laughingly admitted to her own use of pot. She introduced a program threatening parents of school truants with a $2,500 fine and a year in jail. As Attorney General, she opposed California's ban on affirmative action. She argued in court against the early release of state prisoners, saying that they were necessary for firefighting duties, at well below minimum wage, I'm sure. And I'm merely scratching the surface of Kamala's demonstrated lust for and abuse of power. So once again, libertarians have a choice for voting for an evil Republican or an evil Democrat. Both will increase the pace of America's descent into bankruptcy, probably through hyperinflation. Both will infringe on the economic and personal freedoms of Americans. Neither will disentangle us from our foreign policy of military adventurism. Libertarian presidential candidate Chase Oliver may not win, but at least he is not evil. That's this week's Report from the Fields. See you again next week.